Hello, English 102 students. This is a video that's going to be going over our drama essay. Now, you have two choices with the drama essay. You can either use a full-length work, which is a play that's more than one act. We start off with one-act plays. Um, or you can select two one-act plays to work with. I like to give you this option, especially toward the end of the semester, so you can kind of branch out on your own to create your own thesis. So let's take a look at the assignment sheet. This is available in the modules tab in the drama essay files. It's also available in the submission module. Now, on the 29th of November, you can submit your introduction and outline. This is optional. This is extra credit. You'll get 5 points extra credit if you submit it. That's actually the same day as the rough draft is due. So if you want to get feedback before you do the rough draft, you're going to want to submit it a little bit before the 29th. Remember that the honor lock rough draft is required for all of your papers. If you don't complete it, it's a 0 because this is a plagiarism check in essence. I want to make sure that the person that's taking the course is the one who's writing the papers. And this really protects, the students who are doing the right thing. So I know it can be a bit of a task to do the rough drafts, but keep with it. And then Wednesday, the 1st of December, the final draft is due in Canvas, and then we'll get started on the research paper. Okay, so what we are looking at for the assignment. And, as I'm going over this, it's not a bad idea if you can to print out this assignment sheet and take notes as I'm going over it in the video. Part of writing for college classes often involves coming up with your own thesis and ideas for analysis. For the full-length play essay in this course, or the two one-act play essays, write a 1,300 to 1,700 word essay on a topic of your own choosing. You have two options. You can either utilize a full-length play from the textbook, or you can utilize two one-act plays from the textbook, with the exception being the bear. You can use the bear on this paper. But the grading rubric, regardless of which work you choose, is going to be the same. Okay, so you're going to want to consider several literary elements, but just as a refresher, remember that the literary terms are a vocabulary for discussing literature. So what that means is you need to make sure that they are part of a larger discussion. Shakespeare uses the metaphor to get across this point, and not just identifying the literary terms in the text, because that's not really what they're meant to do. Okay, so some of you might be thinking to yourself, how do I get started on this paper? Well, one of the good things you can do is follow this process if you're confused or struggling. And hopefully it will lead to some good brainstorming. So how do I get started? The most important part of this process is selecting a work that you're interested in writing about. So, flag your favorite play or favorite two plays to work on. After you have selected a work or works that you want to write about, do the following. Read the work or works again and take copious notes both in the margin of the text and your notebook. You really do need to read your play, even if it's a full-length play, twice before you write about it. If you can, watch a production or a couple productions of the play if one or more is available. In the case of, like, for example, the Shakespearean play or the Ibsen play, those are going to have multiple versions available for free on YouTube. Let's see, once you've reviewed the play, brainstorm themes, ideas, or topics, or other items of significance to write about. This could be something thematic, like the relationship between men and women, the individual versus society, isolation. Lots of different things could fall under that category. Then write a rough outline and working thesis and do your preliminary research. Notice that creating a working outline comes before the research. This way, you can look for research that supports your ideas rather than using your research to replace your ideas. Then write your full outline or tweak your topic after you've done some research, depending on what you need at this point in the process. You might actually find that it's something you're trying to say about the play is a little bit off base or you didn't read something carefully enough. But that's a good thing. That means that your research saved you from an interpretation of the play that the play doesn't support. Okay, so for your options, at the end of several chapters in the drama section, there are writing essays, ideas, or suggestions for writing that you can generate ideas. You can also look at the general question sections of the full-length play. If you look, I'm going to try to hold this up to the screen. Let's get this a little bigger here. This is page 1122. After one of the one-act plays, we have this, suggestions for writing. You can use these as a launching point for your paper. You don't have to reinvent the wheel necessarily if you're struggling to find something to write about. So use your textbook as a resource to look for things to write about. Now, you won't necessarily use these exact topics if you're stuck, but you can certainly go to the prompts to generate ideas for your essay. At all costs, avoid writing a plot summary of the text. Just like our other papers, we are assuming the reader has read the text. Okay, so in addition to your own analysis of the works, you must use at least 3 secondary sources that you incorporate into your argument. The primary source does not count in this number, but you must cite it on your works cited page. In other words, you'll have at least 4 to 5 entries on your works cited page. The reason I say 4 to 5 is if you're using a full-length play, that's 1 plus 3 sources makes 4. If you're using 2 one-act plays, you're using 3 sources plus 2 plays, which equals 5. All right, these sources must be viable, legitimate academic sources that analyze the work. Remember to use the MLA documentation when documenting your sources. Okay, so option 1, if you're using a full-length play, here are the list of the full-length plays that are in our textbook. These are plays that are more than a single act. We will have A Dollhouse and Othello assigned as part of our reading, but there are other plays you can look at as well. So if you are still wondering how to get started, some things you might want to think about. What are the characters' desires, or what are their wants? What are their needs? What is a major theme of the work? I have a definition of theme here, but it's an abstract idea that emerges from a text. Are there societal issues that are affecting the work? As we read Ibsen, those are going to be prominent. There's racial issues in Othello, and in other plays as well. It comes up in things like the Glass Menagerie. There's class issues in the Cherry Orchard. The importance of being earnest is also discussing class issues in England. So plenty to write about it. You could take a look at, what does this work mean? You could take the approach that you took with the poetry essay. What does this work mean, and how do I prove it to my audience? Okay, so option 2, you could choose from 2 of the one-act plays in our textbook and create your own thesis analyzing the text and comparing them to each other. Now, it's important if you're going to use 2 works that they do connect in your paper. You don't want your paper to read like 2 mini essays, okay? But there has to be some thematic connection between the works for this essay to be successful. So try to find a theme that is present in both works and analyze them in a compare and contrast that discusses how each theme affects the work. For example, you might take something like Before Breakfast and Trifles. How are husband-wife relationships portrayed in each of these 2 plays? That's a theme that connects the 2 works together. But if you need help finding a theme, and this goes for the full-length plays as well, go ahead and follow this link and you should find the help you need. Okay, here are the one-act plays in our textbook, and like I said, you can also use the Bear if you want to. Requirements are the same as the other papers, but it needs to be formatted correctly, and use 3 secondary sources. I don't know why that says 4. Let me correct it. Editing on the fly. Use style appropriate to a formal essay, grammatically and mechanically sound. That means it's written in the 3rd person. avoids the second person, first person, all that sort of stuff. And also make sure you're following the approved research material policy. Too many papers with the poetry essay lost points because you didn't follow the rules outlined in the syllabus. So please do make sure you're following the approved research material policy. All right, and then here's your rubric. It's the same rubric we've used um, all term. And this is the rubric I'm going to use regardless of whether you pick the one play option or the two play option. Okay, so that's the essay in a nutshell. If you have any questions, of course, send me a message. I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you just want to run by a theme, if you've got another play that you would like to use, I'm probably not going to approve it, but shoot me a message if you think there's another play you'd like to use, and I'll take a look at it. So I hope you found this video useful. And again, let me know if you have questions about the paper. And here we go. And now we can cut it out. All right, cheers.